Okay, I'll tell you later.
Matter of fact, we are live. I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Playaz. And I don't know
Zzz.
why I said it like
I
that.
was about to say, we are the CRM players.
It's almost sort of like we are the CRM Playaz.
And then you kind of nod off just Zing.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of Z's because we've been bringing the as since 2009 or
Yeah, this is amazing. This is 15 years.
15 years. Where have the years gone?
15 years.
The years have gone to my gray in the beard and all that.
2 years have gone to my hair is disappearing almost completely at certain spots.
Mine was already gone for the most part, but the gray. Anyway, it's we're glad to be still here. We're glad to still be doing whatever it is we do.
I've done the CRM players in 3 different of my decades.
So I guess that means I have too.
No, not necessarily. It depends on your age. Like in your case,
I think no. If we thought, well, not really.
See, I had 59 the first year, so there's 50s, 60s, and then 70s.
I was early 40s, and I'm still in my 50s.
So you're in 2 decades.
I'm in 2.
I barely made it in 3.
Well, we'll keep tugging away and hopefully plugging away.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get there. Anyway, we have definitely got to a show today, but you know what? Something's amiss. Something's awry. Something's missing. Someone's missing.
He is. Where is he?
Was he at the happy hour yesterday?
No,
I don't think he was.
Not.
Oh, well, we might have to put out an APB, because we can't do our moment of Sven without Sven. I mean, that kind of be hard.
Sven, where are you, sir? We want you.
Wherefore out thou?
Yeah, that's right. We need you here.
Oh, well, we will press forward because we do have a really. I was gonna go all. What's that dude's name that had the show in the '60s? Ed McMahon, not Ed.
Oh,
is it Ed?
Johnny Carson.
No, not Ed McMahon. Ed Sullivan.
Oh, Ed Sullivan.
We have a really big shoe.
A really big shoe. The Beatles.
Hey, Rebecca. Yeah, I'm actually wearing I'll be brutally honest. I would never ever pay for a shirt with a bot on it, but I am more than glad to accept the gift of a t-shirt with a bot on it. And this actually came from, I believe, the Variant.
Yeah, that's a Variant bot without any question.
I wonder what bot this is, though. I
don't know. That's hard to tell. But the cool thing, Variant's bots have their bot. I hope they still do this, but it was bots with personality.
I don't think so, because they got to a certain point where they were turning out too many bots, and they couldn't keep up with the naming and the personalities for all the bots.
That's lazy. That's just lazy.
Well, you know what? They could just turn Gen AI onto this whole thing and have the bots description, name, everything done. Without.
You know what? Have the bots name themselves, man.
Anyway, so we are definitely going to have an interesting show because we do have a great guest, somebody you've seen with us pretty much I don't know, all 15 years, but at least probably like on a streak of 4 or 5 in a row at this point, right?
Oh, yeah. No, he's been among the most consistent guests we've ever had, meaning over the years he's appeared. If we were doing list of all-time appearances, he's somewhere up in the top group somewhere.
Do we have to start like Saturday Night Live, like keeping track of who comes on the show as a guest?
Oh, and give a jacket after a certain amount of
or a blueberry hoodie. How about that?
Well, again, that's for the person we most want to poison wins the blueberry hoodie. Now, by the way, this is not an attack on blueberries. It's only an attack on blueberry bagels.
I feel it's an attack.
To be clear, I love blueberries.
I love them, and I really love them when they're
in dough. You like blueberries in dough? Yes. Is that it?
Is there anything wrong with blueberries in dough? I don't see anything wrong with it.
Yes, quite a bit.
Could be wrong, but anyway, yes. We will tell you who our guest is a little later on. But before we do that, let's see. Do I have any house cleaning yet? Well, I always do.
I mean, housekeeping.
I never get that right. I always
You go, do I have any house cleaning, Paul? You're fired.
if you ever seen my house, maybe you would know why I'm fixated on housekeeping because I cleaning. I don't do it anyway. We are only 2 weeks away from.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to change. It's 2 p.m. by the way. I didn't update the graphic. It's 2 p.m. But go ahead and tell them what's coming up on me.
Okay, so this is that we mentioned it last week and we'll mention it again. We had this amazing. It was a debate. There was no question about it between Cheryl Kingstone and Esteban Kolsky and John Reed and Bob Stutz. And if you watch that show, there comes a point where Brent and I are talking and we realize, oh my God, this needs to be its own show. And voila, a new PPN show is born. The Great Debate monthly. This is the first kickoff. That was the pilot, so to speak. This is the kickoff of the very first show. And you'll note one thing about it. It says CRM Playaz Great Debate, as it says CRM Playaz Watch Party, as it says CRM Playaz Executive Roundtable. These are in the PPN network universe, CRM Playaz branded special shows. They're part of the Playaz sub-universe inside, right? They're not whispered insights. They're not in the hot seat. These are really important. And this one is killer. We've got the incredibly bright, great storyteller, Brian Summer, who will, let's say he will make it very clear what he knows and what he thinks in his rather wry fashion. We have Martin Schneider, who, when I met him, let's just say this, he says exactly what he thinks. I mean, it's probably word for word what actually goes on in his head, right? And you will hear his very well considered thoughts on whatever the 3 topics that we bring up for them for 10 minutes each for them to discuss. Josh Greenbaum, this guy, first, let's put it this way. First time I met him was an SAP thing. He stood up, asked SAP a question, and I went, oh my God. He asked that kind of blunt question. I was like, I'm no stranger to bluntness, but that thing was like deadly weapon blunt, right? And he is going to be on there. And of course, the what's a good word for her?
You can't use irascible.
I can't use irascible. I can't use the irrepressible.
Ooh,
Liz Miller. The irrepressible Liz Miller. Liz, this is a person who just knows her stuff and puts it to you and does it in a big way that makes you both makes you kind of, on the one hand, laugh and then realize, wow, I just laughed and my head is bleeding. right. She slugged me. Right. I mean, this is going to be a beauty. Right. So if I'm you, you're not going to know the subjects till the day on May 1st at 2 p.m. ET, but you want to hear what they're going to say.
Yeah. Once again, that's 2 p.m.
Right.
On May 1st. We'll be putting up the event post. Yeah, probably right after the show because we're about less than 2 weeks out now. So yeah, we'll do that. And once again, like Paul said, we don't let them know what the topics are until we tell them on the show. We give them 10 minutes to discuss it amongst themselves. And traditionally that we have to cut them off because, it kind of gets heated every now and again. But we get 10 minutes each for each topic. They don't know what they're going to be talking about until that day. And we also welcome, as always, the comments to come in because we know they aren't the only ones that are opinionated about some of these topics. So we always welcome the voice coming from the comment section.
Amen.
All right. So before we get too far into this, you want to give them a little bit of an update since we seem to be moving pretty nicely now towards the very first ever CRM Players / PPM live event.
So we, I can tell you this: IRL 2024, which is that event in real life 2024, November 11th, November 12th in Atlanta at the Atlanta Tech Village in Buckhead. Be ready and be there, because we're starting to move forward, and there is a lot that is going to be happening at that event. I mean, a lot. And we'll do a much more detailed look at this, a little future show, because we're still working out details, but I'll give you some real, let's say, high level highlights, with the caveat these are subject to change with and without notice. Okay. So first of all, it's all going to be live streamed, and we're going to be running 2 simultaneous paths. They're not tracks. They're not like thematically specific that way. 2 simultaneous things while we're there. Among the things we're going to be doing is getting you guys, if you're there, involved in things we're doing. So, for example, you saw the great debate. Well, imagine something akin to that with 3 seats and a 4th empty one. And 3 of those seats are filled by maybe 3 of those people right on that thing. You guys get to fill the 4th if you're attending. Okay? That's one thing that we're doing. Everything's going to be live streamed, right? We're going to be doing, we hope, and this one's probably the one most subject to change without notice, is the launch of the new PPN awesome show called Crapshoot. It's a quiz show, and there's going to be competitive teams on that stage competing for as yet to be just figured out prizes, right? And it'll be the launch of the show, and it will be live streamed. And another thing we're going to do is, as you know, I sunset the CRM watch list last year. Well, we're doing the grand finale awards, which are not like the watch list, no submissions necessary from vendors or anything like that. But these are awards like best CEO, best executive assistant, most powerful platform in this area, whatever area, blah, 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 and go on and on. We have, let's say this, we have right now close to 90 suggestions as to categories. We'll be paring that down considerably. But most importantly, typically I've always been the only judge on CRM watch list. We have an analyst panel of 39, mostly analysts, a couple of people who are not analysts, but who know the market and are influential, who are also judges on this panel. So this is a very powerful thing. The winners will be chosen by them, and there will be some along the way over the next few months, getting some inputs from you out there. So I would advise showing up at that event, because we are going to announce all the winners at that event. And that's just a few things. Plus, there's going to be a tasting of some form of alcohol. We won't tell you which yet. And there's going to be food, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity for you to participate directly in the event itself. Keep in mind, we're going into this, we're a media network with influencers. This is not a vendor event. This is not a industry event. Charlie, actually, that's one of the 90 suggested categories. And people, no analysts are eligible. So Charlie, you got a shot, man. You got a shot at winning. So it will be by name. That's the other thing. The awards will have not only company names, but there'll be awards to actual people, right? So be prepared, man. This is going to be an amazing trip, and very different than any conference I think anyone's ever done. And again, it's all being live streamed.
Yeah, and since
just a hint.
You're looking at potentially doing something like a Scotch tasting, or
Well, I don't want to say which one yet, because it could be single malts, it could be bourbon, it could be Irish whiskey, it could be, I mean, it could be anyone. I'll tell you what. Anyone have any suggestions as the ones they want? Which category? It doesn't even have to be whiskey. It could be tequila, it could be gin, whatever. Just suggest the category of spirit, not wine, the category of spirit that you'd like to do a tasting of. And I'll take them over the next month, and then I got to get to work on it. So
Yeah. Well, while you're doing that, I might have to do something. I might have to do like I don't know, like a blueberry bagel tasting kind of
you can do
thing.
that because your only choice is Thomas's.
So as you're doing the alcoholic tasting, I might throw in something. I might, I don't know. We'll see. Figure it out.
Well, there's one thing I didn't mention is there might be some form of music, but that's not really up to me.
Yeah, we'll see. But anyway, yeah, we're starting to see things coming together, and that's kind of fun because 15 years and we've never done a live event. It's
amazing. We've done every other form of event, but not live.
Yeah. Yeah, like unlive events.
Well, we've actually done things at events. Remember we did
never our own. That's right.
We did what was that company?
A Coke, Pepsi. If you don't know the difference between those two, don't even come to one.
Sorry.
I mean, that's I will say this though. So I was actually on a tour of the facilities, the Atlanta Tech Village, and I had with me the Midas of Martech and also the Golden Smog of CRM and the voice of PPN, Anand Thakur. He joined me because he's like the unofficial mayor of that Atlanta Tech Village. Like everybody, he's around shaking hands, kissing babies, all that kind of stuff. I was like, wow, this is cool. I'm with a celebrity here. So we went up there and we had lunch before we did the tour at one of the really nice restaurants in the area. By the way, the area that this the event is going to be in is Buckhead. Just if you haven't been there, ask anybody who has. It's very nice. It's right in the heart of all the tech activity in kind of Metro Atlanta. You can walk to restaurants and great hotels, so it'll be a cool place to come and have people join us and come to town and hang out. But anyway, so we were at one of these restaurants, and of course you get asked what do you like to drink. And we're in Atlanta Metro, right? So you can ask almost for any kind of Coke variety or variant, and you should get it, right? So a guy asked me, and I said, "Oh, I just want a Coke Zero. Would you be okay with Diet Pepsi?"
What?
I was like, "Did you just move here or something? You know what you're talking about?"
You're a former what restaurant?
He's like, well, the restaurant chain, they used to, when I was out working at this chain in Colorado, it was like, oh yeah, it was Coke, but I come here and like they got a new agreement and it's Pepsi. It's like, you need to go back. Just go wherever. Never ask me that again. So I ended up drinking water. Anyway, long story short, Buckhead is a great place. We're hoping and we're really anticipating to have a unique kind of event that is not a lot like the events that most of us go to, and we think that's a good thing.
And one last thing for those of you who are worried about Coke and Pepsi, the inside the ATV is one of those Coke machines where you can create your own variant of Coke, right? So you're covered.
Yeah, just don't go to the restaurant I went to.
Yeah, no.
If you want to,
I even wouldn't go there, and I don't drink either Coke. Right. So,
all right. So that's that. November 11th and 12th. We will be updating you with information as time goes on.
That's so exciting.
It really is. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know what else? I don't know if this. No, this isn't really exciting, but technology just had a big birthday last week, and it's an old technology. It's been around longer than even I've been around, which is kind of saying a lot. So, do you have any idea of technology that I'll even give you the number? Celebrate. Matter of fact, this technology, as of last week, is now able to get Medicare.
What?
It's old enough to get Medicare.
65 years old.
65 years old. Anybody want to take a guess in the comment section? It's not the Stump the Godfather question. That's still coming.
1959.
Yeah, that was
Technology. Yeah,
1959.
1959. God, I have no idea.
All right. I'm just going to tell you because it's not the Stump the Godfather question, but it is a kind of a setup to the Stump the Godfather question. Say happy birthday and happy Medicaid or Medicare, whatever
Medicare.
it is. Let me get this slide up. COBOL just turned 65 last week. How about that?
That's kind of amazing.
First of all, wait a minute. We got to stop the presses. Look who's here today. Giles.
Oh, yeah, the man himself.
It's been a while, man. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Sorry to tell you you're wrong, but
way wrong.
I'm glad to have you.
You can trace CRM to the 90s.
Mr. Berkson, Alan Berkson. Yeah. Well, I did I already show this before he answered? I probably did. Anyway,
you did. You clearly did.
Happy 65th of COBOL. You have any old COBOL stories? Like, did you ever do
what, are you kidding? I mean, I'm one of those people who hated. When I went to school in the 60s, we had to do the punch card stuff. I wasn't programming. I didn't even know how to do the punch card stuff right. I tried to program hello and I blew up the school. Right? I mean, right.
Yeah, so, but given your background, that might have been
right. It might have been deliberate. Right? So, right. No, I'd heard of COBOL. That's as far as I ever got with COBOL. Do you actually have a COBOL story?
When I was still in college, like the 80s, late 80s, they were still teaching us to program in COBOL. And this is when you had to like rent time at a computer. So you had to like sign up for time. No, well, we're a student. So you had to sign up for time at this big, ridiculous sized mainframe. And I think we were actually using punch cards or something like that too. Yeah. It was like ridiculous. But it was some sort of computer programming class I was taking, and it was COBOL. I mean, we had to take Pascal. We had to take Fortran. I'm like, what the hell is this stuff? And then my first job out of school, they first say, all right, we're going to get you trained on this new thing. It's called Visual Basic. So you're going to go away to Visual Basic training. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Windows programming. Oh, this is great. So I go away. I get certified. I come back and they're like, you know what? We're also going to send you to COBOL school. It's like, you expect me to do that after I just started playing around with Visual Basic? So needless to say, I left that company. It was very crazy.
Did you ever?
But you know what? I probably should have stayed
because
I got out of that because I stayed with Access and VB program. But you know what? I probably should have stayed with COBOL because remember at the end of the 1999 to 2000, those dudes were making like $400,000 a year.
Yeah, Y2,
and I think they might still be working.
Yeah,
and I think they're still making that up now because now we can go into this.
And now it's time for Stump the Godfather with the Venerable Paul Greenberg.
This is setting me
brought
up
to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot.
That's right, folks. It's that time of day. Well, not day, but you know what I mean. All right, so got through all the 65 stuff, but here's where the Stump the Godfather question comes in. Shoot.
The answer is 220 billion. Yay, that was easy. That was so easy.
This was going to be a really good one, too.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? That was the easiest answer I ever had. I knew the answer. I knew I would have gotten it.
You would have never gotten that.
I knew it was 220 billion.
Yeah,
of course I did. Who doesn't?
That really sucks.
Who doesn't know that answer?
Man, that was going to be a great one. All right. Well, I got to back up. All right. So we know there's 220 billion lines of COBOL code still in use today. What percentage of the ATM machines are using COBOL code to take all your ATM transactions? So that's
all ATM machines in the U.S.?
All the ATM machines in the U.S. All the ATM machines in the U.S. What percentage of COBOL code are running all the ATM machines in the U.S.?
Wait. What percentage of code is running, or how many machines are running?
COBOL.
Right, COBOL.
It's just
Well,
what
how many machines are run, or what percentage of COBOL per machine?
No, let's just say all the ATM machines in the U.S. What percentage of them are running COBOL code? Let's not get
you actually literally inverted.
No, you're trying to trick me because you know I'm flustered.
I'm in Patrick's camp on this. Woof.
What does that mean,
Nothing.
Rebecca? We need a little bit more clarification from Patrick on the woof. Okay, Rebecca is coming in with 90%.
Yeah, I'm there with her actually.
Charlie said play Jeopardy. No, you can't do that. He'd answer it correctly, I guess. And our guest in the green room, if you have a guess, just put it in the private chat and we'll let people know what you say. So we got Rebecca at 90%, Patrick at woof, all. So is Patrick saying 100%? Is that what
Patrick?
We're
yeah, that's 100% from Patrick. He might be right though, but
he might be. Yeah, we'll see. I know the answer to this one. All right, so we got 90%, we got 100%. Anybody else? Donnie, you're out there. Alan, you're out there. If you're still out there, Giles, if you're still out there, throw a guess in there. You might get it right. What percentage of ATM machines are running COBOL code? Only in the U.S. We'll only do all the U.S. And while we let them try to answer, you want to go with what?
I'm literally going with Rebecca on this one. I'm going at 90.
Okay. Donnie is saying 97%. So we got 90. We got 97%. We've got Patrick at 100. All woof. I like all woof. That's a good one. Giles is saying 99. So we're getting bunched up. So you got 90, 97, 99, and 100. Do you want to stay at 90?
Yeah, I'll stay there. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this is one of those things where you might as well just you could be entirely tricking, and the answer is 0, right? No machines have been run with COBOL for 15 years, right? So, all
right,
I'll stick with 90.
All right, you're sticking. So you and Rebecca are at 90. Oh, now Alan coming in at 95%. All right, so now we got 90, 95, 97, 99, and Patrick's at 100. Our guest, you got a guess? $1 says Michael Frank.
$1.
Little off on that one there, buddy. All right, so the answer, although I can't, I got the sources from Reuters, but the source says Alan, right at 95%. Alan is right. Alan got it right. Alan got 95% of all ATMs are running COBOL in the U.S. That's probably that actually ended up being a better question than the two. Nobody would have got the 220 billion.
No. Well, no, I knew the answer right away. As soon as I saw the question, I knew what the answer would be. It was so immediately.
Let's face it, COBOL is here to stay, man.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? Of all of them, when you mentioned Pascal and what was the other one you talked about? Fortran. COBOL is the one that I'd say is the most embedded in consistent discussion of those things. Meaning, it's the one that people are most familiar with because it's still, I think, it's still around. It's just still around.
What's gonna uproot it? What kind of effort is it going to take to change all that? I mean,
well, the question is it running all those ATMs, for example, due to inertia or due to the fact that it's fine, it's working just fine, there's no reason to change it?
Who knows?
Or nobody's thinking ahead to the future.
Well, who is thinking?
Well, of course, when Gen AI gets a chance to take it over and say, I'm going to only give you $50 instead of $1,000 because you really can't afford it.
Well, but who is thinking ahead towards the future,
right? No.
Our next
Doctor Who?
Our next guest.
You mean our next guest or our only guest?
It's time for the introduction of our guest.
Okay.
Paul Greenberg.
All right. So, as you know, this guest who has been on this show many times, he is the SVP of Market Strategy at Salesforce. And he has been, aside from being really well known from his days at Salesforce. Prior to it, he was really well known as a thought leader and a brilliant writer, by the way, a great writer, still is, in the world of computers and PCs and eWeek and Computer World and those kind of publications. He was the leading. He was a journalist in a manner of speaking, but he really was a thought leader who wrote, and he wrote brilliantly. And I've known him for many years. He's also an incredibly kind human being who's always thinking about other people. He's the kind of person that you're just happy that you had the opportunity to get to know him and to keep the relationship ongoing. And obviously, as SVP of Market Strategy, which covers a lot more than just things like analyst relations, it covers competitive intelligence. It covers anything related to the title, really, which is market strategy. So he's brilliant at it. So let's just bring on the guy himself, John Taschek.
There he is.
And there is
wow.
the
man. Thank you, Paul and Brent. I never know how to start after that introduction because it's always going to be a bit of a disappointment, I think.
And he has a really good sense of humor.
Yeah,
that was the other part.
Yeah, I'm not that well known, but I'm glad I'm known by you, the two of you.
Yeah, well, actually, you'd be surprised. I told people you were coming on, and people are making a point of listening in because you're coming on, right? So not because it's CRM Playaz, because you're coming on. That actually, let's say this, that's how well known you are.
Well, that's great to hear. And thank you for having me on your show. I don't know how many times it's been, but I love being on your show.
You're definitely up there. And the good thing is we already know you're the football team, so we don't have to worry about anything.
but it is important to point out that in his youthful stage, he was a Rams fan too.
I was, yeah. I was a Rams fan from third grade until I moved to San Francisco, and I'm still a Rams fan. I just, I can like both teams. It's an additive thing.
Well, actually, that's going to raise a question for me and Brent. Really, with the answer to the only wrong answer is like such a shell at this point. It doesn't have the people we hate are gone. The team is terrible, right? It's like there's nothing left to really like even care one way or the other what anyone thinks of, right? So we might have to change our ultimate question. So I don't know what that would change to, though. However,
so just good games, I guess. You root for good games.
Yeah, but we're trying to figure out what to root against, not what to root for.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So we'll have to come up with that.
How about the salary cap of the WNBA first draft? You can root against that.
There you go.
I'm leaving that one alone.
It's kind of disgusting actually. They get paid that little. So you want to look? I know you really are thinking a lot about analyst relations these days. So rather than our normal thing, I have questions, believe me, and I think some of it will be practical advice kind of questions as well as other things.
Wait a minute, is it advice or questions?
It's both. No, I'm not giving you advice. I'm asking for advice for other best practices, I'll call them. The questions will lead to that. But why don't you just kind of kick it off in terms of your thinking? Because you obviously got something you're thinking about. And I think you've got people really curious about this.
Wow, thanks for that open-ended question, Paul.
Not even a question. Sort of a statement.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the floor is yours. Do whatever you want with it.
Oh, well, that's great. Thank you. Well, it's been I've been at Salesforce coming up on 21 years, and I'd say almost that entire time. Well, it is the entire time. I've dealt with the analysts, and before that, for 12 years, I was in the press. I wouldn't say I was a journalist, really.
That's what I said.
It's an art. Journalism is an art. I didn't have that art form. I was more of a guy who loved technology, who knew how to write. but I didn't, interview people. I didn't like track the news. There's like a whole bunch of things about historians that journalists need to be that, I'm not. But I love technology. I love evaluation. So I carried that through to Salesforce. And like the first 5 years or so, it didn't seem any different to me, being at eWeek or PC Week in Salesforce, except that I would do more in a week at Salesforce than I did at 6 months at Ziff Davis. It's the pace of change is so rapid. And it's not like I say I was like idle before. Right. That was a tough job as well. It's just different. So the state of analyst, I think I went into, and I think I've said this on the show before, but I went into it thinking that analyst relations is not what people think it is. And I kind of developed some values early on, and some of them are, I could talk to, my first actual conversation was with Rebecca. I think I saw Rebecca on here before. I'm not looking at it now.
Yeah,
but and it kind of changed my mindset very quickly. But then I started interviewing AR people from different companies, and they all said the same thing, which was, you got to pay your dues. You got to prioritize. You have tiers of analysts, and I'm like, no. That's not the way I think it should be. There are analysts who understand technology, who can add value to me or to the company or to the technology world. And that's how I would prioritize, not by a firm, not by an evaluation, not by anything like that. And then I started to look deeper into the impact or the humanity of the analysts, and analysts are people, and everyone at their core nature has to be relevant and feel like they're adding value, empowered. And I kind of made it that part of the job, part of my values was, okay, we can help empower. We can't do all of it, but we can help. And we can, part of the value is seeing the insight brought to life in a product. And we're a technology company. The product can change, the technology world can change. And how does the analyst impact value? Now there are a lot of big firms out there, and not all the analysts are great. So I was looking at the individual analysts, and that started out as like a core value. Are they helping technology in general? That was just to go back. I got into technology for one reason, because I liked it. Computer technology, I'd say. I was into stereos before that and cars before that. But computer technology it made people feel dumb. I could tell by everyone around me. And there was a lack of experimentation or curiosity because of the fear of it. So the humanity part is making technology easier to understand and use and see how it can add value. So that's how I got into it. So the humanity is still there. It's still my main value. How can an analyst help humanity via the little, microcosm of the technology world, which is, quite big these days, of course. And so I look at the state of the analyst world today, and it's not really that different. I don't think, if a person understands that technology is one way that they can help humanity in some way. I don't want to speak in such big, aphorisms or anything like that. But if they can help technology in some way, and they can help Salesforce, and we can help the analyst help us, that's a great mutual relationship. I don't think there's anything different about that today. I don't think of it. Now, that said, the world kind of changes. Our company got a lot bigger. There was only 300 people at the company when I joined, and it's, over 70,000 now. There's, tens of thousands of startups every year. hardly any of them deal with analyst firms in any way. Most of them don't deal with it in the right way. And, because they want it to be lead gen, or they want it to be, help their marketing campaigns. And so, that's amplified quite a bit more. There are hundreds of thousands of, actual competitors that we have. Any company has, really.
Yeah.
And the analysts help, sort it out, prioritize, shortlist. There's lots of things that they do that are more operational. And yeah, we have to work in that kind of paradigm. But the value doesn't change. Can they help us? Can we help them? Can it be a mutual relationship? And then that's it. Everybody else kind of, falls off the charts. But we still try to find analysts that feel that way, because analysts come and go as well.
Yeah.
You have not, but the analysts do at firms, and they go and they start at vendors and things like that. But there's always new ones coming in, and I've taken it as more of an elder approach, a mentor approach, often, where I can just help them see that they have value. It's tougher. It's a bigger, more complex environment, and they I just want to know that they have value to us.
Well, I will say one of the things that early on with Salesforce, and when you got there, and I think this is even back in the days when like Teen was still there. I mean, really a long time ago. I learned something about what your approach was, unlike any other approach at the time. Now I'd say there's maybe one or two other companies who are gone in similar directions, which was, look, analyst relations people, you're talking to these analysts all day. Your job is to continually communicate with them in part, and to both provide them with things and learn from them, and at the same time have them hopefully learn something from you too. You're bound to establish, you are humans, and you're bound to establish relationships of some kind to them. Maybe they're just friendships that you meet your best friend in the world, and you're AR and they're an analyst, and that may happen. So, and what you did, which most people don't do, right, is said, that's fine, right? Most people say you can't do that. And there's a big difference, even in companies, I would say, and I've got a couple in mind, but I won't say who are professional with their AR team, and they're good. They're good at AR teams per se, but they don't establish the relationships at the level that they provide us with what we need for information, but they don't establish the relationships at just the level of human to human. And the one thing you always said was, please just remember who you work for. And that was the only caveat involved, but is important one, obviously, because look, I think that made a huge difference in why the AR program at Salesforce is so highly regarded by analysts, where at other companies, let's say, it's not as regarded, or not regarded as well.
Well, I was really fortunate to have given a charter to act on my own. Now there was Amy Lynch as well on the team back then, but I was given the charter from the CEO himself to say, John, run it as your own business. You're the CEO of your own, firm. You have no budget. You have only the tools you have at your resources that you're available, and figure out a way to make it work. Well, I didn't even know what success looked like back then. I just knew most of the analysts did not like us as a company, not as people, right, but as a company. We had a lot of hype. We had we're talking to software analysts when our tagline was no software.
That's a bit of a challenge. Yeah.
There was a lot of that there, and then Mark had said something to me that was enlightening, which was, John, do you like our product? I'm like, yeah, Mark, duh. That's why I'm here. I didn't say duh. I was very eloquent, and he said, why don't you talk to the analysts? They need someone who has some gray hair to talk to them.
Wow.
So meaning somebody mature who's looked at the industry, who has a broader perspective, who doesn't really have an agenda. Because I didn't have an agenda. Everyone else had an agenda around me, but I did not personally have an agenda. It was to learn. And being curious was also a value that I never stated, but it was there. I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn more about the industry that was so fascinating to me. So just like it evolved from there. And then I came up with some rules, I guess. They weren't really rules. There's no doctrine about this or dogma about this, but there were some rules, but they were in my head a lot. So over time, I needed people to figure out what I was thinking. And that's where, Anne and Chen came in, R.T. Narayanan, Carolina, and they were able to take all the parts that I didn't think I was really good at communicating and doing it. Right. So with that team, then it evolved into what it is now, which is a much bigger team in a much bigger world.
It's a great.
And you just named like the equivalent of the 27 Yankees. The people that you have working with you. Yeah, that's like a murderer's row of analyst relations, if I ever heard it.
You're not kidding.
And they've been, whether we go ups and downs and morale and things like that, they've stayed there. They're still here.
Yeah. Which, as the folks on the other side of the relationship really appreciate. I remember during the pandemic when everything went virtual and we were there for years. It was so nice after that. The first Dreamforce, we didn't know exactly how it was going to go because we knew it wasn't going to be the same experience as before the pandemic. To see those faces, those familiar faces and people that we knew and were comfortable with, it was such a great part of the kind of the reopening after the pandemic experience. And I don't know if people really understood just how important having that kind of relationship that actually went back previous to then, because there were a lot of people that were hired, and nothing against new people, we just didn't know them, and so we didn't know what to expect, generally speaking, from the Dreamforce experience post pandemic. But we were so made comfortable because there were people that we knew prior to it that we knew we were at least going to be. It was going to be a easier, smoother transition, whatever the experience was going to be. So that was great.
Yeah, well, virtual for a person like me, a bit introverted, is great if you already know the people, right? It keeps the relationship going.
Yep.
It's also good as an icebreaker for the hope and optimism that you're going to meet the person in general later. But it's not a substitute for either of them. It can't be. You have to compartmentalize that aspect of it. It's not, you can't do it for everything. But I still use it for both. If I haven't seen somebody in a long time, virtual is good.
Yeah.
But it doesn't
the
replace
other thing
anything.
that it actually works and is cohesive with you guys specifically. Like, for example, I've known Ann now a very long time also, and once a month we just catch up, and it's not a business talk. It's just I've known her long enough to call her my friend, right? And I just want to know how she's doing, right? And she wants to know how I'm doing, and that's what we talk about. And I know she's AR at Salesforce, and she knows I'm an analyst, so we don't talk secrets or anything. It was just a conversation about the people we are and, you know, what we do in our life. And it ranges, you know, during COVID, it was checking in, how's your health, right? I mean, it was like first question always, but it was a regular event, right? It's not like that's the only AR person I do that with. There's a few, but it's a handful, and it's literally probably one handful. But I do it with the people who, you know, because they can and they did, I've managed to develop a relationship that means something to me well beyond the company, right? And that, but you know what? If you translate that back, given that we're all humans, and you just look at it from a simple business standpoint, the reality is, you know, how to put it? The odds are good that because the relationships are good, that when somebody does something, the company does something stupid, or at least that an analyst thinks is stupid, that the way it's presented is going to be different than if there was no relationship at all. It's just human nature, right? Because the people remain in your mind. They're always in your mind, right? It's not the company, it's the people, and you have to be mindful of them too, right? So, and to me personally, that's just the way I operate. I can't speak for every analyst in the world by a long shot, but I know that if there may be a time where I want to pound with my full fist, and instead I just go like that, same idea gets across, but it's done a little more, a little less edgy than it otherwise would. Yeah, well, don't mess with that one. Yeah, right.
Well, I know what you're saying, and you know, people have a veneer, the narrative they want to communicate, and some have a thicker veneer than the others. But when you have a relationship, you have to be vulnerable, and I would say sometimes those with the thinnest veneers, you can be vulnerable, and the relationship won't be as strong as if you are vulnerable with somebody with the thickest veneer,
right,
and the thickest narrative, because if you spend the time and patience with a person, and you kind of not crack it, but just see below it, you're going to have a stronger relationship built on mutual trust, and it's analyst relations. It's relationships. You know,
mm-hmm.
It's not
and
just
again,
anything
and
else.
you guys. Well, the other thing, you put the time into it too, just in the broader sense. Because the other thing is, look, let's face it. Us analysts, or we analysts in this case, are let's say on the whole a very prickly lot. There's analysts that are, I guess to me, you know, I can't speak for anyone else, but they're just really annoying. You know, and well, it's just the way they present themselves. It's that's all. It's not that they're stupid. They're not. They're smart, and they may have great insights.
Hey, man, some of the smartest people in the world are the most annoying people.
Well, I mean, and there are analysts who think that, you know, if they say it, it's God's word, right? It ain't. It's an opinion, right? So, but you have to. So, okay, so on the one end, I'm honored that somebody's literally willing to pay a New Yorker for his opinion, right? Which I think is astonishing. Like, I literally get paid for people to care what I say. I'm astounded anyone cares what I say, period. Right. On the other end, you have the God's word people, so to speak, but you're dealing with every part of the spectrum from end to end. Right. And you have to allow for it. How do you even like do that or think of that? I don't even know how you handle that many insanely diverse number personalities.
You know, I think we track something like, there are about 3,000 analysts who cover Salesforce, industry analysts.
Oh my God.
They're more, it's really more than that. If you look at analyst voice, you know, any analyst writing about us, but it's a pretty large number. And then there's that, what's that number called? The Dunning number? Is that right? you can only know 100 people really well type thing.
Yeah, I think that's the Dunning.
That seems like that's not the right word.
I've never heard of it.
No, there is something like that. I've seen it too.
The Dunbar number? I don't know.
Wait.
I like dummy.
It's some number, but yeah, there's a number.
Yes, that's it. Dunbar's number.
Yeah, and
I'm going with dummy number from here on in.
Well, if we have 30 people, there's too much overlap to even say that there's 3,000 analysts, but no, we can't. It is really based on how much the analyst knows, understands about technology, and are they willing to invest time in learning from us without feeling that we're just pitching? And that's it. That reduces that number quite a bit to the number of analysts we interact with regularly. Now, there are some analysts that are, I would say, more influential on a broader scale, not more influential. Somebody can say something and it only influences 5 people, but they're the 5 people who matter.
Yep.
And somebody can go out on TV and say something and it's broadcast. I'm talking about more the former than the latter here.
Right.
So there are some analysts that we pay attention to because of their position a little more, but it's not the core value. It's just there. It's just one of those things.
Interesting. I mean, we could go on forever, but we know we have limited time. But one of the things we just talked about, and you really, the way that you explain analyst relations, it is relationship driven. You allow, and I would say not just allow, but you actually kind of you want your folks on your team to build relationships with folks like us that are just not transactional, but real relationships. But now we're in the age of AI and Gen AI, and it impacts every facet of life, both personally and professionally. What role should AI and Gen AI, where should it fit in the modern analyst relations, whole relationship between analysts and your team and folks like, you and others, actually?
Well, and I mean, in a lot of ways, it's going to upend a lot of everything, but I think it's going to dramatically impact the analyst firms more than it's going to impact the relationships. As an example, analyst firms tend to put everything behind some kind of paywall or subscription model. Not all of them do, and there's of course a lot of public information, but one of the biggest barriers to our success with the individual, the human connection, is the data's not available. It's too hard to get. Well, Gen AI should make that easier. Why do I have to go wait for something to be presented to me for me to be interested in it? Why can't I go down some kind of rabbit hole that makes it a lot easier? And so I think that's one thing. I would prefer. I'd prefer to search or just ask questions and then naturally go down a path to find out information. And some of that information might be, well, who does this analyst talk to? Some of it might be, what is the content? Some of it might be, something like market share. That's on the vendor to analyst side. Something's going to dramatically change there, especially with Gen AI's ability to transform basically free text or unstructured data. On the relationship side, I think there's always going to be a human connection, and I can't really think that far in the future. But if you saw what Microsoft just did with their video, I don't mind that. I don't mind talking to a digital person, as long as I'm getting information. The biggest problem is, well, people tend to hallucinate as much as AI does. AI gets the blame because it's so obvious, but it's not even obvious all the time, but it's a little more transparent. So I think there's going to be an issue with the same with hallucinations. It'll just be amplified. That's where it takes your values and your execution to figure out what's right and what's wrong. Right. Somebody can be hallucinating all the time, but they might say one thing that's really valuable. Yeah. You need to be able to pick that out. What is the right thing? Amen. And that's intuition, education, relationship, analysis of other data, and your view of the future.
Amen.
One follow-up to that is how does it change the internal relationships that AR and maybe other parts of your market strategy have with like marketing and sales and product development, and how does that relationship change?
Yeah, the marketing, at least at our company, marketing, I think it's any company really, marketing needs leads. Marketing needs awareness. And the viewpoint from people not really familiar with how analyst relations work will just use it as to, leads, like to get awareness or validation really is what maybe the critical part there. That is going to be sped up. It's going to be the same as it is now, but it's going to be sped up. I want to go back to an analogy I made before I came to Salesforce, probably in the late 90s. The Palm Pilot came out, and I was using the Palm Pilot for a while. I know it dates me a bit, but I was using it for a while, and I came to the conclusion that if you're unstructured and disorganized, it's just going to make that worse, easier. Right? You're going to be like, you don't have any grounding. Like if you're an unstructured person, putting stuff into a Palm Pilot will just make it digital and faster and easier. It's going to be the same, I think. And it takes bigger education, more reliance on critical thinking. Maybe that's, maybe all this focus on STEM is without philosophy is going to be an issue in the future. Probably already is. But I think critical thinking and understanding of technology and its impact on the world, if you don't have it, it's just going to speed up your downfall faster. If that's the right way to say that. Accelerate your downfall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like accelerate your downfall, but I also like the dumb.
What? Dunbar.
I like the dumb whatever. I like the dummy list. I like that one better than
the Dunbar number.
Yeah, I like the dummy number better.
That was 150, by the way.
It's down to 50 now?
Yeah, it's basically 150 people that you're able to retain a consistent interpersonal relationship with is the number.
Yeah,
I think that's probably an average. I think there are some people who can only deal with 5. People who can deal with 200.
Yeah, I'm on the under part of that, by the way. But John, this has been great as always. We definitely appreciate you joining us. Hopefully, we'll be able to do something in person at that Dreamforce thing. That would be kind of nice. Weird.
Yeah. Well, that's is that September this year? I haven't.
Yeah, I think it's early September. I want to say it's early September this year. It's different than last year. I know.
I'm sure the people on your team know exactly.
Yeah. Everyone knows except for me. I'll put it in my Palm Pilot.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we don't have to worry about we already covered the most important question, but we already know that one. So we appreciate it. And just to show you how important the relationships are, you know how we end our shows, right?
I don't think he
has
does.
It changed?
Oh,
no. Well, he may not have.
Well, why don't we show you? Why don't we just show them?
All right. Know it when you see it, though.
So on behalf of John Taschek, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Players. And as always, we can't end the show until we say hello to many.
Yes, I've seen this one.
Now we can say goodbye.
Now.